This is Android Basics, in which we bring you up to date on the things that you should know to use your Android phone.
We now move on to our next segment, and this is the Android Basics segment, and we continue, therefore, with the One UI system settings as John looks at the lock screen from within the system settings. John?
Hello. Today we're going to be continuing our way through Samsung's One UI settings. We're mostly going to be covering the lock screen today, but there are a couple of sections that we're just going to glance at before we get to the lock screen. For the sake of completeness, they're mostly visual, but for those of you who do have some vision, or for those of you who are just curious about these settings, I will go over them quickly. Last week, we covered
battery, power saving, charging.
So the next item in the settings is
wallpaper and style, wallpaper's color palette.
So this is a highly visual setting, but we're going to go in here anyway.
Wallpaper and style, navigate up, button.
So on this page we have two items across the top. On the left we have
lock screen.
And if you double tap on this, it'll take you into a place where you can customize the wallpaper of the lock screen, as well as other elements of the lock screen, which we're actually going to cover later in this demonstration. And to the right of that, we have
home screen,
which basically just takes you to a screen where you can set your wallpaper, which is something we've also already covered previously in the home screen episode of this series. And then below these two, we have
change wallpapers.
Here's a way you can choose a wallpaper and set it as either your lock screen or your desktop or both. Below that, we have
color palette. Choose a palette based on colors from your wallpaper.
You can go into here if you want, and this will customize certain aspects of the operating system, like the quick settings panel, to match the colors of your wallpaper, or you can choose what you want those colors to look like in there. Below this we have
dim wallpaper when dark mode is on. On, switch.
And that's exactly what it sounds like. It makes your wallpaper darker when you have dark mode enabled. So I'm going to back out of here.
Settings, wallpaper and style, wallpaper's color palette.
Below wallpaper and style we have
themes, themes, wallpapers, icons.
So I'm just going to go in here and just glance at it for a minute.
Galaxy themes, events, button.
So what this does is it takes you to the Galaxy Themes store, which is a place you can download or purchase themes. Some are free, some are paid. And the tabs at the bottom are
selected, tab, themes, tab, wallpapers, tab, icons, tab, AODs.
So we have themes, wallpapers, icons, and AODs, which is always on displays. So if you do have some vision and you want to explore these customizations, I encourage you to come in here and look around. But we're not going to focus on this today, so I'm going to again back out of this.
Settings, themes, themes, wallpapers, icons.
I think it's worth mentioning that in One UI 5, the next setting would have been home screen. And where that would have taken me is to the same settings that you can get to from your home screen, which we have previously covered in this series. But they've removed it in One UI 6, probably just because of redundancy. Like I said, you can get to it elsewhere. So in One UI 6, the next setting is
lock screen, screen lock type always on display,
which is going to be our focus today. So I'm going in here.
Lock screen, navigate up, button.
So first thing we have
screen lock type, pattern, face, fingerprints.
I'm going to open it.
Screen lock type, confirm pattern. Navigate up, button.
Of course, you need to put in your PIN, pattern, or password.
Screen lock type, navigate up, button.
So once you're in here, this is where you can choose your screen lock type.
PIN, medium high security.
You have PIN,
Password, high security.
password,
Pattern, medium security, current lock type.
pattern,
Swipe, no security.
swipe,
None.
and none. So the difference between swipe and none is that with swipe, you'll still be shown the lock screen when you turn your phone's screen on, although you'll have to swipe up to get into your phone. If you have it set to none, it'll just take you directly back into whatever you were doing. So I don't really encourage you to use either of these, although I do on my son's tablet. I just have it set to none because there's nothing important on there, and I just want him to be able to turn it on and start doing whatever he's doing or wants to do. Below that, we have
Biometrics, heading.
biometrics, and we have 2 toggle switches.
Face, registered, on, switch. Fingerprints, registered, on, switch.
And these are just toggles to disable or enable fingerprints and face unlock. So, for example, if you wanted to temporarily disable these, you could come in here, turn these switches off, and you wouldn't lose your fingerprint or face data. You wouldn't have to re-register anything. You could just turn them back on when you wanted to use them again. To actually add fingerprints and face data and all that is actually found in a different section of the settings, biometrics, which we'll cover in a later episode. So I'm going to back out of this screen.
Lock screen, screen lock type, pattern, face, fingerprints.
Next we have
Extend unlock.
extend unlock. I think this is basically smart lock. I don't know if it's still called smart lock on Pixels, but let's go in here.
Extend unlock, confirm pattern. Navigate up, button.
Again, I need to put my pattern in.
Extend unlock, navigate up, button.
And we have
On body detection, off tap to turn on.
on body detection. So if it detects your phone is in your pocket and you want it to stay unlocked because it's still on you, you can enable this.
Trusted places, 0 places added.
Trusted places, for example, if when you're at home you want your phone to stay unlocked, you can add that as a location.
Trusted devices, 0 devices added.
And trusted devices. So, for example, if you have a watch and you want it to just stay unlocked anytime it's within Bluetooth range of your watch, you can do that. Back out of here.
Lock screen, extend unlock.
And below this we have,
Secure lock settings.
go in here.
Screen lock type, confirm pattern. Secure lock settings. Navigate up, button.
And now from the secure lock settings page we have
Make pattern visible, on, switch.
whether or not you want your pattern to be shown as you're drawing it.
Auto lock when screen turns off. After 5 seconds except when kept unlocked by extend unlock.
So this basically is how fast you want your phone to lock when the screen times out. So if you've left it somewhere and the screen turns off, how long do you want it to let you get back into it without having to put in a pattern, pin, fingerprint, so on. Below that we have
Lock instantly with side key. If extend unlock is in effect, the phone will stay unlocked. On, switch.
obviously this is the default behavior when you turn off your screen using the side key, it locks it. If you don't want that to be the behavior, you can change that.
Auto factory reset. After 20 incorrect attempts to unlock your phone, it will be reset to factory default settings, and all data will be erased, including files and downloaded apps. Off, switch.
That's exactly what it sounds like. You can have your phone be erased if somebody tries too many times to get into it.
Lock network and security. Prevent Wi-Fi and mobile data from being turned off when your phone is locked. Find My Mobile uses these connections to locate and control your phone when it's lost. On, switch.
That's pretty self-explanatory.
Show lockdown option. Display a power button option that turns off extend unlock biometrics unlock, and notifications on the lock screen. Off, switch.
This will add a lockdown option to your lock screen. I guess this is similar to what Pixels offer in their power menu, although I've never used either. All right, that's the last setting on this page. I'm going to back out.
Lock screen. Secure lock settings.
And below this, we have two items. On the left, we have
Edit. Lock screen.
and I'm going to go in here and show you how to edit your lock screen.
Editor. Lock screen. Image.
And there are different aspects of your lock screen which you can enable. I'll just swipe through.
Lock screen. 9:39 a.m.
So here we have the clock.
Hello. 9:39 a.m.
And if you are to double tap on the clock, it brings up the settings for the clock. And some of the options we have are
Font 1.
fonts. So you could
Font
change,
2.
I guess you have
Font
about
3.
8 of fonts.
Font 4.
Let's see.
Font 5. Font 6. Font 7. Font 8. Handle.
Yep, you have 8 different fonts to choose from. And then below that, you have the clock style. And this is important because it lets you change the size of the clock.
Not checked. No clock.
And as you can see, it even lets you get rid of the clock if you want to.
Checked. Small digital clock and date in top left corner.
This is the clock I have enabled because it's small and it keeps the clock and date in one line across the top of the screen, which allows for more real estate for notifications. So that's why I have this enabled. Also, if you wanted to just get rid of the clock altogether, you could, and TalkBack would still read the time when you turn your screen on, but you would have even more room for notifications. So I'm going to show you some of the other options.
Not checked. Standard digital clock with date in small text below. Not checked. Standard digital clock with date below. Not checked. Large digital clock in square formation with hour on top and minutes below. Not checked. Analog clock with hours shown as numbers. Not checked. Analog clock with dots for hours.
And then we have the color of the clock.
Not checked. Adaptive color. Checked. White.
I have mine set to white, and there are a bunch of different colors you can choose from and even gradients you can choose from. So I'm just going to do the back gesture to close out these clock settings.
Lock screen. Image.
And let's see what else we can adjust on the screen.
Notifications.
Now, if you find notifications and double tap on that,
100%. Slider.
it gives you a slider, which I can only assume
33%. 0%.
is transparency. So I was adjusting it earlier. I'll put it back to 0 because I think that's how I had it. It's not labeled, so I'm assuming it's transparency. And then below that, we have 3 choices of notification style.
Not selected. Notifications off. Radio button. Not selected. Icon only. Radio button. Selected. Details. Radio button.
And I have details selected because I like to see what's in my notifications without unlocking my phone. You do the back gesture.
Lock screen. Image.
We're also able to customize
Right shortcut. Right shortcut.
the right and left shortcuts. I'll go into one of them to show you some of the options.
No app.
You can have it do nothing,
Camera.
open the camera,
Do not disturb. Disabled.
do not disturb. This is disabled because I currently have the opposite shortcut set to do this. And of course, you don't need 2 shortcuts doing the same thing.
Flashlight.
Flashlight
Voice
and
recorder.
voice recorder, which is what it doesn't say it's selected, but that's what I currently have it set to. And then that's all the actions you can have it do while the phone is locked. And then next
Unlock required.
is a section called Unlock Required. And Below this is a list of all your apps. So you can basically, if you want to open a specific app from the lock screen, you can assign it to a shortcut. It will just ask you to unlock your phone after you tap that shortcut, and then it'll take you into that app. So I'm going to back out of this.
Lock screen, image.
So that was the right shortcut, and also
Left shortcut, left shortcut.
there's a left shortcut. I won't open it. It's the same as the right shortcut. You can just set it to whatever you want. And then the last thing you can customize on the lock screen is
Contact information.
And what this will let you do is put your name, phone number, email address, any information you want to put on your lock screen, just in case you lose your phone and a good Samaritan happens to find it and wants to contact you to let you know they have it. So before I leave this page, I'm just going to show you what's across the top. There's 2 buttons.
Wallpapers, button.
That's how you're going to set your wallpaper specific to the lock screen. And then to the right,
Done, button.
a very important button, because if you just back out of here after changing this setting, nothing will be saved. So you're going to want to hit done when you're done. And I'm not going to do that because I haven't changed anything. So I'm going to just back out.
Lock screen, edit, lock screen.
To the right of lock screen is
Edit, widgets,
widgets. Let's go in here.
widgets. Navigate up, button. Choose useful info to show when you tap the clock on the lock screen.
So as you heard, when you tap, or in our case, double tap the clock on the lock screen, it will bring up whatever widgets you have enabled. And here are your options.
On, switch, music. Off, switch, weather. Off, switch, today's schedule. Off, switch, next alarm. On, switch, routines. On, switch, voice recorder. Off, switch, smart things. Off, switch, Galaxy Buds Live Manager. Off, switch, digital well-being.
And those are all of your options. So you can enable or disable them as you choose. I currently just use it for the music player widget and routines, because I have a manual routine for connecting my AirPods, which I sometimes want to do without having to unlock my phone. And then back at the top of this screen near the right,
Reorder, button.
there's an option to reorder these widgets if you don't like them in their default order. I'm going to back out of here.
Lock screen, edit, widgets.
Below these lock screen and widget settings tiles, we have,
Touch and hold to edit. On, switch.
I don't know that this applies to us, but it's basically if you touch and hold your lock screen, it'll take you straight into the lock screen settings, customization settings, which I just covered. And of course, you can't really press and hold on a blank spot with TalkBack unless you use a TalkBack pass-through gesture. So this really doesn't affect us, this setting, at all.
Always on display.
And then we have always on display. I'll go in here, even though I know most of us won't be using this.
Always on display. Navigate up, button.
I'll turn it on
Always on display. Off, switch.
just to go through the settings. And the reason I have it off, and most of us probably have it off, is because TalkBack does not work with the always on display. So anything that it's showing, you're going to have to be able to see. But I'll go through these settings really quick.
Show a clock and notifications when your phone isn't in use.
That's just the description of always on display.
Not selected. Radio button. Tap to show.
This is when you want it to show, so by tapping it,
Selected. Radio button. Show always.
always
Not selected. Radio button. Show is scheduled.
on a schedule,
Not selected. Radio button. Show for new notifications.
or just have it light up when you get new notifications.
Clock style.
You can go in here to choose your clock style.
Show music information. On. Switch.
You can choose whether or not to show what's playing.
Screen orientation. Portrait.
Choose the screen orientation.
Auto brightness. When auto brightness is off, you can adjust the brightness manually by double tapping the clock on the always on display. Off. Switch.
Whether or not you want the brightness of the always on display to depend on your surroundings.
100%. Slider.
This slider will only be shown if you have auto brightness turned off, and I have mine set to 100%.
About always on display.
And here's where you can find what version of it you're running. So that's all the settings for here. I'm going to back out.
Lock screen. On. Always on display. Show always.
And next we have,
Roaming clock.
what this will do is show you a second clock when you're traveling outside your time zone. So it'll show you the time where you currently are, and it'll show you the time back home. Below that
About lock screen.
is where you could find what version of Lockscreen you're running. And that's all of the Lockscreen settings. So I hope this has been helpful. I will now send it back to the podcast crew.
Thank you, John, for that. And I hope you guys will go in there and experiment with some of these things and see which ones you prefer and manage things that you would like them to be.
No problem. I actually enjoy going through these Samsung settings just to remind people how much more you can do with the Samsung phone that you can't do with the Pixel.
Oh, gosh. We have to rub it in there, but that's okay. I forgive you. You guys always want to come down hard on my Pixel. Now, Pixel is the king on the hill. Right, guys? I believe it is. Yet, in the same breath, I love the Samsung devices. I guess I'm a secret admirer.